The text notification flashed on my phone at 5:30 in the morning while I was still half asleep under the blankets. It was an automated alert from my primary bank stating that my account access had been completely frozen following recent changes to my profile. I sat up immediately, making my sleeping cat tumble off the mattress as I opened the mobile app. A bold red message warned me to contact my local branch immediately, setting off alarm bells in my chest. That specific account held a $500,000 fund created by my grandfather over 15 years ago. He set it up when I was 19 after watching my parents constantly take money from my college job checks without returning a dime. My grandfather saw their greed clearly, took me to his attorney, and explicitly created a financial cushion that my mother could never touch. He made me promise to protect it from relatives who would claim they needed it more than me. I made the huge mistake of calling my mother first before reaching out to the bank. Deep down, a small part of me still hoped she would react like a loving parent and help me fix a terrifying mistake. She answered on the very first ring, wide awake before 6 in the morning, which was completely out of character for her. Instead of using a warm greeting, she spoke in a cold tone that instantly signaled she was hiding something from me. When I confronted her about the frozen account, she calmly explained that she and my father had recently consulted a financial counselor. She claimed they were deeply concerned about my recent breakup with my boyfriend, the stress from my nursing job, and my overall ability to make sound decisions. She casually declared that they decided it was time to take over my personal affairs, completely brushing off my outrage as if I were a child. My father then came on speakerphone, using his professional tone from his decades as an insurance claims adjuster to gaslight me completely. He claimed they had secured a legal power of attorney alongside a signed note from a medical specialist. He argued that as my next of kin, they were simply protecting me from my own unstable choices. When I demanded to know what doctor signed off on my sanity without my knowledge, my mother cut in to tell me I was being overly dramatic. I hung up without saying another word, sat on my bed in complete disbelief, and felt my body shake uncontrollably for a full minute. Then, a cold sense of clarity took over, replacing the shock with absolute determination. I immediately called my bank branch, demanded a direct meeting with a head manager for 9 in the morning, and used explicit phrases like identity theft and an authorized financial takeover. The employee on the line agreed to flag my profile for immediate investigation. I got showered, put on my professional work blazer, and drove straight to the bank while piecing the timeline together. My breakup had happened nearly a year ago, and I had been managing my house payments, long hospital shifts, and daily responsibilities without any trouble whatsoever. Suddenly, I thought about my sister, whose wealthy lifestyle and private school fees for her kids were constantly funded by my parents. I realized my sister had likely orchestrated the whole scheme after I refused to co-sign a loan for her. I pulled into the parking lot early, took 3 deep breaths, and resolved that I would not cry or apologize to anyone today. Once the doors opened, I met with the head manager, a calm man named Arthur, who led me into his glass office. He turned his computer monitor around to show me a power of attorney document submitted 4 days prior. It carried a signature that looked like mine at first glance, but lacked the distinct stylistic hook I always put on my letters. Arthur agreed that the signature was a clear fake and showed me the attached letter from a private psychiatrist located 2 hours away. The note claimed I was suffering from severe mental instability that rendered me incapable of handling my own finances. I had never seen a mental health professional, never visited that distant town, and had no clue who the signed specialist was. Arthur revealed that the bank called the number on the letterhead, but it led straight to an unassigned voicemail. The electronic footprint showed the forged medical letter had been sent from a public shipping store in that same distant town. Furthermore, the file properties embedded in the digital document listed the original computer owner as my sister's husband. Seeing his name on the screen brought an overwhelming sense of quiet over me. The years of emotional manipulation, subtle insults, and financial entitlement from my family suddenly faded, leaving behind an absolute determination to hold them accountable. Arthur asked me directly if I wanted to file formal fraud charges, explicitly warning me that forging bank documents and medical records meant felony charges for everyone involved. I did not hesitate for a second. My grandfather had explicitly warned me that my mother would try to steal this money, and I was finally ready to protect myself. Arthur called in an associate to start the fraud paperwork and requested a local police officer to come take a formal report. While waiting, my phone buzzed repeatedly with calls from my parents and a manipulative text from my sister telling me to calm down. I flipped the phone face down just as an officer named Brenda arrived to take my statement. Brenda reviewed the forged signatures, the electronic records, and the shipping receipts carefully. I warned her that my mother would likely show up at the branch soon to put on an elaborate performance, acting like a worried parent dealing with a troubled child. Sure enough, my mother and father walked into the lobby shortly after 10 in the morning, putting on a dramatic show for the teller. My mother tearfully claimed that I was experiencing a severe psychological breakdown and that they were just trying to manage my life safely. Brenda walked out to the front desk, asked for their identification, and firmly requested that they step into a back room for questioning. My mother gave me a cold, distant glance through the glass window, showing zero remorse. During questioning, my parents completely collapsed under pressure, giving conflicting dates for when the paperwork was supposedly signed. They stumbled over the name of the fake doctor, and my father eventually admitted that my sister's husband helped format the documents. When my brother-in-law called my mother's phone during the interview, the police officer documented the matching name on the screen. Both of my parents were placed under arrest right there in the building while I finalized my account security in the manager's office. By late afternoon, law enforcement had arrested my sister and her husband at their home, filing charges for identity theft, conspiracy, and document forgery. Investigators discovered my sister created the fake doctor's note using an online template and paid a freelancer to design the header. The trial stretched on for nearly a year, revealing that my brother-in-law had used similar forged papers for other scams. The judge showed no mercy, handing down multi-year prison sentences for everyone involved and ordering full restitution. My sister's children went to live with their paternal grandparents, who sent me a sincere card expressing deep sorrow for what had transpired. I moved my funds to an entirely separate bank with multi-factor security steps that require personal verifications no relative could bypass. Looking back, I realized that my family's polite excuses were just a cover for exploiting my trust. I stood up for myself, preserved what my grandfather built, and finally severed the ties that were holding me down.